Casey here with 911 Motorsports, and in the last video we used our tube jig here to make the top tube of this bumper, and in this video we're going to be setting it up like this with these long copes to make the bottom tube like you see down here. And up nice and close you can see how that's a pretty good looking cope right there. What makes that cope even better is that this was just one shot with a handheld cutoff wheel and there's no grinding on there. So stay tuned to see how we work the magic to make this happen. Now that we got the top tube done, we can figure out the copes and the bottom tube. And over here, this is our 70-degree cope I'm starting with to just use as an example, just to set up. So our 70 fits good here, but it's in a little further than I would like. If I come out, this is more so where I'd like this tube to land, but we've got a gap on the long side, which is not ideal for figuring things out. So we're definitely going to be using the 75-degree cope and having that land somewhere around here. Now this gap in here is something that I can easily account for when we go to make the final tube. But for now, I'm just trying to get an idea of where the bend's going to land, and that looks to be right here. So now we could come over and start setting up our jig on the table. And to start this process, it looks like I'm looking for about 19 inches from cope to bend. And this is just a little sample piece I set up. So we'll take this off to start to figure out. Our center tube in between the frame rails is going to be basically the same, so I should be able to reuse this. But what I am looking for here is that roughly 19-inch number overall, and 19 here isn't going to work because the tube is inside the cope. That's our 19-inch hinge, which is too long with this medium base, but if I swap to the long base, that's going to work. So we're going to take this apart here, set up the cope on the long base, and then this, now we'll pull this off here, get that out of the way. So this setup is going to work. Yeah, that'll work real good. So this will be our bottom tube. Now I just need to copy the same thing over here. We'll get rid of this tube, this on like so, and then we need, this is why pairs of copes, so we can have our matching tubes set up. And like that, over back to the vehicle. This weird looking little thing is our tube holder. This is going to be another tool that we will use for the end. Grab this and to where we can finagle this in here. We got it kind of close. We can use this guy to come up like this and then just hold some tension on our tube. That helps to hold it in place. That looks to be fairly good. Then we'll set our other side here. Another tube holder set up so I could finish this cope side, get this thing clocked in the distance to match what I did over here. So this whole bottom tube is set up the way I'd like it to be. The next more important step is to figure out where the end of the cope goes here. And for that, what I'm gonna do is take my tape measure and wrap it around the tube and then leave it loose, but figure out where that contact point is. So where this tape measure is touching that tube is going to be the end of the cope. And so now that I know that, I can mark on the tube. So that is going to be where this point, the actual back, the short side of the cope is going to end up right here. We can now take this tube off and start to copy it for the final tube. Our protractor here, 20 degrees on the money. Verify, yep, 20-degree bend. Okay, that's nice and easy. Now we just need to figure out where our tangent point is. Looks like contact and contact, okay. We are 1 inch from center to our tangent. On our tube, we've got 1 inch. There's our tangent. plus 1, 2, 3.5 inches. That's our start. So our tangent and our start of bend. And then we'll do the same thing over here, right there. This is much darker DOM tube, so we had to switch to our silver because black on black just don't work. Center line, tangent, and our start of bend. Okay, bend's done. Now we can come back over here. And so I missed my bend rotation on this just slightly, and I'm kind of OCD, so I like to make sure these things are right. So right here you can see that little bit of rotation. That's definitely a few degrees of rotation. I want to make this nice and flat, so we'll show you how to fix a tube like this. Over here, I've got this strap on the ground. And what this does is it lets me be able to locate one bend right there, and we'll put a couple blocks of wood. So now I've got this extended, this longer tube that will slide over here to get a little extra leverage. And what this does is more or less will tweak the rotation of the tube. And so you just kind of tweak it a little bit. That's a little bit more, I think will be good. So it's hard to tell with the floor that's all cracked, so we'll go back to the bench and see how this is fitting. Money. That's all it takes. Just a little bit of weight, manpower. Just a little bit of manpower and the right amount of leverage, and you can tweak tubes to your advantage. We can grab our jig, set it on top, and we'll center on our center lines. And then next basically is just coming down here and giving a nice little eyeball for our square cuts. So this is just cutting off the excess. Okay. Now is when it gets to be a little bit more fun to try to transfer. Let's flip it the right way here so I can see the marks. And we've got our rotation gauge in here. And we're going to start with 0 degrees, and that will be 41. We'll take this and start with 0-ish to there to 40. 41, and then mark that right here, a little far away from the end. This is where we can use our tube master here to center that gap, and then we can mark the same marks all the way around the tube, transfer those center lines. All 4 quadrants is nice to have. Chunk of angle iron. We'll draw a line. This is going to give us a nice reference line to use down the whole tube. And like that. Rotate this thing back. So this is why I like this tube jig, is because I've got the reference. So this is what needs to be over here. So the end here, and then we know this, that's going to be the end. The center, inside, end, and that'll give us a nice little reference point there. And now we want to transfer this line from this line, and we need to align these guys. We'll align here and align those together. And then want to transfer. And it's good to leave this a little bit long because we weren't a 75-degree angle, so there was a gap when it was first set up, so we need to mimic that same gap and give yourself a little extra room on that. So there's one side. Now we'll transfer this on the other side. And then, so this side, same thing. Match our end, use this inside line and then the outside line, get them all matched to each other, and then we'll transfer that profile to the tube. About like that, and then kind of fill in those gaps. Just like so. I want to come a little bit more right here. I didn't quite, I want to like that. So there's our other cut profile. Going to come to the inside of these marks, so it gives me a little bit of extra meat to be able to sand things off. Okay, so both ends are transferred. Now we need to make some cuts. Okay, there's one half. And there's our rough cuts done. Now we can check it on the vehicle, and first kind of want to check and see how this fits there. That's looking pretty dang close like that. This side, same thing. Right around here we could slice some stuff out, but pretty dang good fit for just a cutoff wheel and eyeballing some transfer lines. The real moment of truth, though, is how it fits on the vehicle. Like that. Like that. Well, that's not too shabby for a hand cutoff wheel. No grinding. That one's looking beautiful. Both sides. We're fitting here. Over here. Little bit of a gap right there, but that's less than a quarter. That'll be easy to fill. We're looking real good back here. That's pretty dang good for just a hand cutoff wheel. But that's where having our long copes, being able to know exactly where that goes, comes in so handy. This is where taking that little extra time with the tube jig pays off, because now I don't have to spend a bunch of time screwing around with this. It fits right the first time. Give it a couple of tacks, and then we can check this tube off the list as well. Okay, so this tube's all good. That's about it for this video of our bottom tube. Make sure to stay tuned for the next video where we get our winch installed, add some side braces, and finalize this bumper. If you like the video, make sure to like it. If you have any questions or feedback, add a comment below, and make sure to subscribe so you can stay up to speed with 911 Motorsports. And around.